Bueno, y estamos de vuelta. Espero, ¿verdad?, que estén todavía por ahí. Nada, como saben, vamos a empezar entonces el talk. El talk de hoy es Narrowing Down Your Vision, que en pocas palabras es nosotros, ¿verdad? Cuando estamos en un game jam o estamos en este tipo de evento, a veces ponemos un scope bien grande, ¿verdad? Tenemos una idea bien grande, tenemos muchas ideas que queremos tratar de lograr. Pero hay que buscar la manera de reel it in, ¿verdad? Coger todo eso y convertirlo tal vez en, concentrarnos en algo particular, ¿verdad? O hacer lo que sea más manejable. Y básicamente eso es lo que queremos hacer con este talk, ¿verdad? Que darle esos consejos para que si están en ese proceso ahora mismo ustedes, ¿verdad? De crear 20 cosas, pues saber qué cosas deben darle más prioridad. Para hablarnos de eso, aquí tengo entonces a Carlos, que es nuestro invitado. Hola Carlos, ¿me escuchas?
Hello. Yeah, I can hear you.
Ok, awesome, awesome. También voy a poner aquí a Gabriel, que thank you, está disponible y va a poder, ¿verdad?, ayudar a través del stream. Así que,
We
nada,
need to keep them outnumbered.
exacto. El takeover, el takeover.
It's just law. It's in the bylaws, guys. Sorry.
Pues nada, Carlos, antes que nada, ¿cómo está todo? ¿Estás bien?
Todo bien, todo bien. Acabo de salir del trabajo hace poquito, pero bastante bien.
Ah, pues tal vez, exacto, tal vez lo ven cansado, pero eso es, mira, porque es un hombre trabajador, ¿ok? Pero de hecho te iba a decir, bueno, antes que nada, Carlos es el regional organizer, ¿verdad? De Global Game
Correct.
Jam para la parte de lo que es Latinoamérica o even more
The Caribbean. It seems like
Caribbean.
they shifted it around. Antes era también Latinoamérica, eh, incluyendo ciertas áreas de América del Sur. But
Ok.
it seems like since last year, maybe, they changed it to Caribbean and then like uh, North Latam is how they call it.
Ok.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Pues sí, no, pues él era el que, ¿verdad?, estaba probando muchos de esos sites, y, ¿verdad?, el de nosotros incluido, ¿verdad?, entre esos sites. Pero Carlos también ha tenido mucha experiencia con el Global Game Jam como tal. Él ha ayudado bastante a los Global Game Jams anteriores que se ha hecho en Puerto Rico. Pero nada, Carlos, entonces, let's just get into it. ¿Verdad? Como parte de este tipo de eventos, muchas veces, pues la gente al principio está un poquito perdida, ¿verdad? Porque como que tiene, o sea, pues le dieron el tema, empiezan a trabajar en 20 cosas, pero después de ahí como que no saben muy bien, ok, pues, ¿qué cosas debo yo escoger de todas las que tengo en la mente? ¿Cómo me manejo como equipo, ¿verdad? Para poder realmente lograr algo que pueda terminar al final, ¿verdad? Porque a veces la gente quiere hacer Halo
Yeah,
en el
yeah.
Game Jam. Y es como que, bueno, pues maybe no Halo, pero maybe puedo hacer una versión pequeña de algo que quiera hacer de Halo, right? Y decir, ok, pues I can show this, por ejemplo. Like,
Exactly.
what would you say, ¿verdad? ¿O cuál sería tu consejo a la gente con eso? No sé si eso también cae, ¿verdad?, en tu presentación, pero pues we can start that if you want as well. Pero yeah, you can take it away.
I guess, yeah, let's start with the presentation. Then later on, we can have a little discussion on other stuff that might not be within the presentation. All right. So my name is Carlo Rodriguez Penny. I'll be presenting the narrowing down your vision. Hopefully, it'll be somewhat helpful for this game jam as well as for future game jams, in case you end up participating in others. So first, start off with the brainstorming session part of it. So most game jams tend to start with a theme. Um, ya presentaron el theme de este game jam, so that's roots. Um, so there's lots of different connotations that comes with roots and different ways to approach that theme. So that's pretty much the first thing that you should take a little bit of time out of the first day to like research the different approaches you could take with it and how to implement it just on a broad scale. You don't want to go too in depth since brainstorm the idea is like a very small portion of what will end up being your game, and the execution is the core aspect, making sure that it plays well, making sure that it looks as decently as possible for the short period of time that you have. And so yeah, don't spend too much time on like coming up with a crazy story, as Gabriel would probably mention, Final Fantasy VII type of story.
Ey, cuidado.
So it's just like keep it the idea simple, and if the first one feels good to you, then just go for it. Eventually, the execution will be the most important part of it, and it does not always have to be an entirely unique idea in the sense, mostly in the sense of the gameplay mechanics side to it. Like you can always borrow stuff from other games. Since this you're simply like trying stuff out, and this is more of a learning experience as well. So feel free to, if you want to try out like a co-op game, then go ahead and give it a shot. But yeah. So an example, sort of like if the theme was doors, then there's like two ways that you could approach it. Whether the objective is to reach the door, or whether the objective is to protect the door. And then there's like other aspects within those two sub, I guess, concepts. Is that like reach the door before you get caught, or before the time runs out, or protect the door from enemies, or in a multiplayer game from other players. So yeah, you can always like keep branching down to try to specify the concept as best as possible. And as I always try to remind, it's important to always keep the theme in mind while thinking of ideas, because sometimes that gets kind of lost in translation throughout all the brainstorming process, and then you don't see it as in not entangled, as intertwined within the game concept.
No, ya, I completely agree. De hecho, eso que tú dices, que por lo menos hagas como ese arbolito que salga de. Bueno, y es curioso que es roots, right? Como que haces literalmente el arbolito y salen los roots, ¿verdad? Pero obviamente que tengas siempre claro que del medio es que estás haciendo todo, ¿verdad? Que ese medio tengas bien claro roots can be very helpful, porque como tú dices, te mantiene claro de, ok, so el bueno se convierte de momento en, en carro, right? Como que it's still
Exactly.
roots. Y como que it really helps you to keep that perspective. Yeah.
Yep. And always keep in mind that the theme doesn't always have to be taken literally. I imagine that the theme video also conveyed that a bit, like sometimes a little bit more figurative in its sense. So yeah, just play around with that and see what comes more natural, I guess. Don't try to like force an idea if it's not possible. So for the planning process, after finalizing on a general concept of your game, I recommend using the Moscow method. So like, do like a brief document. Doesn't have to be super lengthy, like a full game design document, but just like a brief one pager that lets everybody on the team know what are the must haves for the game or for the prototype, what are the should haves, what are the could haves, and what are the will not have. So even if it's something that might not be feasible for the game jam, like maybe if you already thought of it, like just jot it down, and maybe for if you're gonna keep working on the game afterwards, then you'll have that still on paper and have that around when you're working on it in the future.
De hecho, te iba a preguntar, Carlos, porque yo creo que algo
Yeah.
que mucha gente. Porque hay. De hecho, si no lo mencionabas tú, lo iba a mencionar yo, ¿verdad? Esto que tocas de mencionar, de hacer esta lista de prioridades. Porque muchas veces la gente, ¿verdad? Y de hecho, y esta es la pregunta, ¿verdad? Como que muchas veces la gente pone todo en el must have, ¿right? Como que dicen. Exacto, es como que, ok, vamos a hacer la lista. Ok, ¿esto es importante? Sí, must have. Y dicen todo must have. ¿Tú tienes alguna, I don't know, like, like a tip or something on how to decide between them? Como que, ¿verdad? ¿Qué es realmente un must have y qué es un could have, por ejemplo?
Correct. So like must-haves is like what essentially consists of the gameplay loop of the game. Like let's say Mario, for example, you definitely need those basic controls: running, jumping. I guess uh, You don't have to do like the whole walking to running transition. You can just do a singular speed for the beginning, then later on play around with that. So yeah, just running and jumping, and also implement at least like a single enemy. That's something that I also mentioned the next slide, if I'm not mistaken. And let's see, and just the basic behavior for that enemy. And at the start, you can, at least for programmers side, just do quick test runs with like a basic level. You don't have to wait for a level designer to plan out the entire level to then test out if it feels right. If it feels fun to play with and whatnot, and if you've got the core gameplay loop going, then I'd say continue along with that, and then move on to the next task, whether it's the enemy, whether it's multiplayer aspect. So you have to take into account other players and so on. Then should haves, I guess that could delve depending on like what your team is composed of. Like if you're mostly programmers and so on, then like you shouldn't like you spend too much time on like finding music or finding sound effects. Just try to focus on what you're more what your expertise is on. So I would say that should be another way to go about it as well.
And I think the Mario example is fantastic to use here, where like where you said the must-have is moving, like it's being able to move, it's being able to get hits, being able to jump. Once those three are set, it should have is like, all right, actual nice textures, maybe scoring, maybe like a time limit, and then like could haves it come okay, different kinds of enemies, now a different background, maybe
Exactly.
different music tracks, and a will not have is a Mario Maker kind of mechanic added into it along with it. That you definitely, if you do that, if you achieve it, you're crazy. If you
Yep.
probably won't, so that's why it's in the will not have.
Correct. That's a great way to go about it. Yeah. And so while determining like what could be accomplished in the time frame that you have, also take into account everybody's availability, including your own. Like uh, you might want to like one person could be working on it maybe like 8 hours a day, give or take. Others 12 or more. But then there's always going to be errands that pops up throughout the week, and like not sure how many are in school still. So like there's classwork, there's uh, day work, and so on. So try to keep that in mind as you're building out the scope of your game. Try not to overcomplicate it for everyone involved. Um, and try to be realistic of how much time you actually have within every single day of this week.
Yeah, y también
And
tengan en mente que
yeah,
todo el mundo tiene una vida diferente, right? Como que,
exactly.
o sea, no se molesten con alguien que no está disponible. Like,
Correct.
they have, their own lives, y maybe something's happening que they're not available. Doesn't mean that they hate the game, doesn't mean that they don't want to work. It just means that
Yeah,
they're not available. Pero créanme que si se apuntaron en el jam es porque they want to be part of it, okay?
correct.
So they'll do as much as they can, and if they can't, they'll probably say it, okay? Y nada, pues, just to give you, ¿verdad?, esa perspectiva, again, do not despair si de momento la persona no está disponible. Lo que ustedes quieran, just do the best you can with the time, ¿verdad?, que they can provide.
Correct. And yeah, like also as Gabriel mentioned, try to keep communication open, because communication is key to making sure that everything goes as smooth as possible. And then finally, understand the priorities of your game and begin assigning the tasks accordingly. So you don't. It's the key is to everyone be able to focus on a must-have task and not like have three on a must-have, one on a should-have, and one on a could-have. Because that, why are you doing that? So yeah, that should be the way to go about it. And hopefully this kind of type of listing helps you to kind of build up your games piece by piece, because that's the way that you would be working on the game. Try not to tackle too many tasks simultaneously, because that can be a killer at the end when you're trying to piece it all together. So avoid overcomplications. Follow the KISS principle at all times throughout this game jam and throughout other game jams as well. Just keep it simple. Uh, I'll let you read the last word yourself. Um, so yeah,
Sire.
that's a good one. So like, don't come up with like very overcomplicated, I guess, game mechanics or features that you would like to implement in the game. Just start off with the basic parts, and then if you have the time, then you can go ahead and start adding more complex pieces to it. Also, feel free to take this opportunity to attempt to recreate other gameplay mechanics from other games that you might enjoy playing, and see, challenge yourself to some extent to try to recreate it. Um, let's see if you can apply it to your game. Obviously, like some, I guess some gameplay mechanics won't always be like a fit all kind of thing. It's not like you need like Mario mechanics for a racing game. It's like, it makes no sense. But I mean, you can try. It'll be interesting. um, what else? And so yeah, as I was mentioning a bit in the last slide, maintain the scope of the game at an achievable scale, and try to cut corners as much as possible. So just implement basic controls, just a single level for at least for the start, and a single enemy if applicable, and just a win-lose scenario. Then later on, if you have the time, you can add a main menu, add a nice little credit section, add options, add more enemies, add additional levels, maybe a boss. Uh, go crazy with it a little bit. Now's the time to experiment and see how much you can accomplish within the time.
De hecho, eso es, como tú dijiste, eso te da un hint bien brutal de lo que es must have y lo que es could have, ¿verdad? Literalmente.
For sure.
Es como que esto que ustedes ven aquí, básicamente el must have. Y el must have no solamente para este juego que ustedes están haciendo para el Game Jam, sino para juegos en general.
Yeah.
O sea, si estás haciendo algo que quieres enseñarle a alguien, usualmente those are the things that you want to create. ¿Verdad? Ese single enemy va a ser usualmente el que va a encontrar bastante en el juego y va a ser el que va a darte ese sentido de, ok, this what, básicamente lo que estás haciendo es, this is mostly of what you're going to be doing most of the time, ¿verdad? En el juego. So you're gonna be, you want to make sure que eso, que es lo más básico, sea fun, ¿verdad? Para tu juego. And that's how you sell your game, ¿verdad? De una manera que la gente diga, oh, this matters. Si tienes que gastar años, ¿verdad? Y mucho dinero before you figure it out, right? This is the easiest way to get there.
You know, hagan trampa. Dude, don't cheat. I don't go adding no like sliding mechanic into your basic control. Don't go adding some kind of cutscenes in. No. You basic controls, like the mínimo to do something, one small aspect, and then you go. You're not making
basic.
You're making tiny, not even a vertical slice. You're making the vertical slice of the vertical slice.
Exactly.
Exacto. That's a very good way of saying it. Yes, exacto.
So me bajan 20. I'm paying attention. I'm in the mirror. You can see. I'm looking at your screen.
And also, after you have implemented like those core aspects of your game, then you can find out what's working, what needs a little bit more polishing, and so on, before you continue to complicate your game a little bit more. But yeah, try to just maintain it as basic as possible at the start, and then scale it up from there. And polish it. I guess polish it once you're able to. I wouldn't say like take every single moment to have to polish, like the enemy has too much HP, I'm gonna change it, it has too little HP, I'm gonna change it again. You can like leave it at a steady pace for a little while and then see how it goes with the rest of the aspects of the game, um, before you start making too much changes that might not even be necessary.
If you want a perfect example of scope, if people are watching this and they're having a hard time or they're tricking themselves and not properly keeping scope, Celeste, its game jam game, is incredibly simple compared to the actual game that we got and that we played. Where in the Pico 8 Celeste, you're just jumping and dashing. That is it. There is nothing more. I'm pretty sure you can't even wall slide if you wanted to. So like even wall sliding, one of the key mechanics of Celeste in the actual game, doesn't exist in Pico 8. So really key in on the key mechanics that will inspire the experience or the idea that you're trying to go for. Anything extra, sorry, that's for after the game jam.
That is correct. And the last slide, use your resources. So there are the links provided by the PRGDA that should help you greatly in finding assets that you might be missing and finding uh, assistance, whether it's YouTube videos or channels that help you understand certain math formulas that you might need to implement in your game. Also implement like basic control mechanics. Also, let's see. Do not try to reinvent the wheel as much as you can. So like stuff like basic controls, that you can find those in like sample projects of whether you're using Unity or whether you're using Unreal. You can most likely find a player controller script that's already been done, and it's just a matter of modifying some of the stats, some of the properties, and make it fit your game a little bit.
De hecho, yo hasta añadiría eso, que si ya tú tienes un juego que tú hiciste anteriormente, que tiene ya mecánica implementada ahí, copy-paste. Like, coge eso, ponlo y just use it, ¿ok? O sea, el game jam no tienes que todo crearlo en el game jam, right? Lo importante es que lo utilices lo que puedas para crear esa visión que tienes. So, if you already did something before, that's another asset that you have. You're your own asset at that point.
Yeah, that is very true.
And ideally should not be ideas, but implementations. So systems
True,
that you already have,
Correct.
use them, brother. Like if you have 10 libraries that you've custom made to use in game jams to be able to quickly make and prototype, valid. Go for it, brother or sister or person. Go for it. You're free. If you're taking another game idea you've already had and putting it in there,
to be fair, I mean, you could do that. El hecho es como que then you're not really following the point of the game jam, which is to just do something new, right? Al final del día. So, like, ¿verdad? You could do that if you want, ¿verdad? Y cogerlo como que, pues voy a seguir trabajando con ese proyecto, lo que sea, pero lo más importante realmente es más el hecho de que, como dijo Carlos, do not reinvent the wheel. Like, if you already made a piece, reuse it. You don't have to make it again just because, okay, pues I'm doing it in the game jam. Like, nadie va a saber eso. Like, just take it and put it there, ¿verdad? Y use it to make sure that it works. Así que nada, que si ustedes ya son developers, ¿verdad? Han hecho muchas cosas, muchos proyectitos por ahí, maybe this is the time where those projects que tal vez tú piensas que nunca van a ver la luz del día can come together and become something greater, right? Nada, es algo que pueden usar para el resto, ¿verdad? De su development, ¿verdad? Journey, pero para el game particularmente, don't be afraid of doing that.
I completely agree with that. And don't forget that there's always the Discord server in case you need some external assistance. I imagine that there's going to be mentors available at certain times.
Yes, de hecho, yo iba a mencionar eso mismo. Ahora mismo tenemos, aparte a ese resource list, también tenemos una lista de mentors que se puso en el resource. El canal se llama Resources. Es como un tipo foro dentro del Discord. Ahí pueden verificar, está por tema, por skill, ¿verdad? Como música, programación, cosas así. And then after that está por programa. Así que, y está en orden alfabético, so if you guys want or need help with a particular program or skill, chequense quiénes son las personas que se apuntaron y, ¿verdad? Y pueden contactarlo. La mayoría están por Discord y pueden escribirles cualquier cosa. Así que tienen esa opción también. Yes.
Yeah, that's it, which is really valuable. And last but not least, after a couple days in, give or take, have your peers playtest your work in progress, so they can give you feedback, let you know what could potentially need a little bit more work, um, if it feels fun for them, and so on. Could be your peers, your friends, your family. Go for it. Let's let people try out your game, even though it's not completed. But I mean, that's the point. So you can get feedback before it's at the end, and then you don't have the time to be able to make changes. And I included the link to the PRGDA's game Jam resource list, which I'll be also including this presentation. And thank you and good luck to all you jammers.
Thank you, Carlos. De verdad, I think there's a lot of people that había muchas cosas en esa presentación que I was hoping that you would touch, and you did. Tengo que decirte la verdad, I have never heard about Kiss before.
I didn't heard about Moscow. I've heard of the city, but not that
Not
low
that
graph.
way. Yeah.
Not that way, yeah. Lo primero que vino a la mente cuando escuché Kiss fue la banda. Y yo como que, wait, what? Que escuchen Kiss, mira, están trabajando. I mean, maybe
That
that
helps.
helps.
That helps.
Yeah.
They had to pivot after the music, you know, after the 80s. They just needed to reinvent themselves.
Exacto, okay, let's make games. Pero nada, sí, ¿no? De verdad que yo creo que la clave, ¿verdad? Los que estén escuchando, los que ven esto después, como dijo Carlos, es coger todas las ideas que tienen y ponerlas en esa lista, ¿verdad? De prioridades. Eso es bien importante porque literalmente eso te va a hacer saber what to focus on and what not to focus on, right? Muchas veces el issue o lo que mata muchos juegos en general y particularmente en los game jams es lack of focus. Todo el mundo está haciendo 20 cosas al garete y alguien se queda haciendo algo que no es importante, pero para ellos creen que es importante and they don't communicate with each other what they need to do, right? Tenerlo escrito, güey, lo pueden hablar, pero por favor escríbanlo en un sitio, o sea, tenganlo escrito en un sitio para que si de momento alguien termina su task, vaya a esa lista y diga, ok, so this is next, y, ¿verdad? Y pueda seguir trabajando con eso. Pero eso de hacer eso es esencial para mantener su scope de una manera que tenga sentido, ¿ok? Y como dijo también Carlos, lo de keep it simple, again, coge y, ¿verdad? Y Gabriel lo dijo bien claro, el vertical slice del vertical slice. I couldn't agree more with that. Like, that is what you should be doing en el game jam. It's the most basic thing possible. Cuestión de que tú enseñes, okay, this is what we're going for. De ahí, si tú haces eso y tienes tiempo para hacer más, good on you, ¿verdad? Go crazy. Pero eso es la parte, o sea, de ahí es la base de todo, de ahí es que tú la sigues para adelante. So, nada, I don't honestly have anything else to add to this. Gabriel, no sé si tú quieres decir algo más o preguntar algo más.
I think just a simple summary of like brainstorm, come up with a couple ideas, 1, 2, 3, ya tienes tres, okay, you're good. Start figuring out which one you want to do. Then once you know which one you want, then start prioritizing those tasks into the things that are necessary to make it real. I've heard many stories, seen many videos of people in a game jam. They have 3 ideas. They go for the first one. Half the game jam is gone. It doesn't work. We don't like it. This is honestly kind of trash. Bye-bye. Whoop, and then just throw it away. And then they do the second one. And then half of that half, so 75%, 3/4 del tiempo se fue. And they're like, oh, tampoco. Nope, no, this is too. Whoop. Y después, with 25%, 1/4 of the time that they had, they made an incredible game. And they were able to make something really sweet. So don't worry about it. It's part of the process. If you starting over, it's all part of the process, and it's all part of ultimately, how I said at the start, what your goals are.
Yeah, it's okay to fail. Just do it faster. Lo importante.
Fail fast.
Exacto. Así que eso es lo que yo diría, Carlos. Anything else that you would like to mention?
I would say I would like to reiterate, like, on the, like, don't spend too much time brainstorming ideas. Back when I wasn't jamming per se. I was the organizer of the Global Game Jam. I think back in 2018, maybe, or 19.
It's been
Which
a
I
while. It's been
did.
a while.
It's been a while. That the theme was transmission,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I did try to. At one point, I was like, I'll try to join in the jamming.
To organize and jam, yes.
Yeah, it did not work. But like, I was still, I went through the process of like thinking of ideas. And I was like, first thing that came to mind was like Morse code. Maybe do a game based on like around that. Then I was like, let's like simplify it a bit, and then like, so I thought of like Paperboy, but then I thought like reverse Paperboy, that you have to like stop him from not throwing the newspapers. So I started it for like an hour. It was like 4 in the morning by that time, so it didn't go far. But I got that idea like pretty quick, relatively speaking, and I just went with it. I was like, whatever, let's go for it. There's not much time left.
Yeah.
And
No,
that is how Pong was born.
Pero nada, de nuevo, Carlos, thank you for taking the time to do this. Nada, cualquier cosa, Carlos también está, ¿verdad?, en el servidor. Si tienen que encontrarlo, pueden, ¿verdad?, escribirle. Y nada, cualquier cosa, ¿verdad?, nos avisa a nosotros. Pero for now, Carlos, thank you. We'll talk to you later, okay?
Dale, no problem.
Dale.
Éxito ahí.